Welcome back to my channel. As you noticed, I am not at school, I'm at home this time, and since I'm sitting on the floor, this is what my posture is gonna look like, so I apologize. Anyway, with that out of the way, like that was important, I thought it'd be fun to document my March Madness bracket filling out, or whatever you call it. Disclaimer for you sports nuts that are watching this, I am not a sports person. I just do this for fun because I know nothing about basketball, and yeah, there have been a few times where I ranked high in my family's bracket tournaments just because I either flipped a coin or picked which mascot I liked best, but yeah, recently I've not been having a lot of luck. I've tried all the methods in the book, but yeah, this time I think I'm just gonna, do some research, and you guys can either laugh at me or support me in this bracket filling journey. Another thing I like to do with my brackets is to, if there's any school that I have beef with, as I myself am a college person and there might be somebody that I know at a certain school, if I have beef with that person or that school, I'll rank it low just out of spite, but yeah. Whew. I have not turned on my ring light in a while. I can see it when I close my eyes.
Shapes and colors.
Ooh.
15 minutes later.
Okay, so I just spent some time doing some research on upsets because that's obviously what stumps me the most. There is an average of 8.5 or 9 upsets per game. There are typically 5 in round 1, 3 in round 2, and 1 in either round 3 or 4. Most common upsets are 11 to 6 games. 8 to 9 games, obviously just go with your gut or flip a coin. And then I thought this was interesting. It was predicted that 1 to 16 upsets might happen on an average of every 3 years. And since the last one was 2023 with Purdue, and I forget what the other school was called, I am not gonna do that this year. It was so funny, because obviously, like, I had Purdue winning it all that year, and obviously that ruined everyone's bracket, but then the year after that, out of spite, I had Purdue losing the first round, and of course that wasn't the case. So yeah, the whole Purdue thing's just embarrassing on my end. Alright, let's get started. I guess I'll start with these bottom games. For this one, since I really don't have a preference, I'm gonna go based on mascots, because why not? Okay, so for Alabama State versus St. Francis, I went with Alabama State because they're the Hornets, and then St. Francis I think is like Red Wave or Red Flash, I don't remember, but looking at a picture of the mascot kind of gave me the ick, so Hornets it is. For Texas versus Xavier, I don't know, in my opinion, the Texas Longhorns are kind of overrated, and the Xavier Musketeer is just a goofy little guy, so I went with Xavier for that. The next one was American versus Mount St. Mary's. American was the American Eagles, which I thought was pretty basic, so I went with the Mount St. Mary's Mountaineers, and it's just funny. And then the last one was North Carolina Tar Heels versus San Diego State Aztecs. Now, I don't think I can really speak on it, but I feel like the Aztecs is still a little bit of an offensive mascot name to use. I'm surprised they haven't changed it yet, but for those of you who that might affect, let me know if you find it offensive or not, because I probably shouldn't speak on that, but I thought Tar Heels was kind of an interesting term, so I looked it up, and apparently it refers to anybody living in North Carolina. I was like, that's weird. Anyway, North Carolina it is. So yeah, I just picked those first 4. It's not like it's gonna matter anyway, because I'm probably gonna choose the 1 seeds over those next. Speaking of which, let's move on to the next round. And for the sake of this video, I am going to go ... instead of ... like I feel like most people do, just because I want to get the screen recordings into this video, and I don't want to have to like keep scrolling up and down. So Auburn versus the first round, I forget what those were. Oh yeah, I picked Alabama. We're gonna say Auburn. that's self-explanatory. Duke versus Mount St. Mary's in my case. Duke. And then I already determined ahead of time where I'm gonna place my upsets, and I think I've decided to do 1, 8, and 9 upset for this one, and it will not be in the South or the East rounds, so I'm gonna have Louisville or Mississippi State. I did the same with 5 and 12. I did that with a lot of like the seeds that don't involve 1 through 4. I kind of determined where I was going to place my upsets. We won't be seeing any yet from me. So Michigan versus UC San Diego, I'm doing Michigan. And then Oregon versus Liberty, I purposely decided that Oregon was going to win. My thing is, I know a few people who go to Liberty, and I don't know, the environment of Liberty kind of scares me based on what I see from like TikToks and like story times of students that go there. I'm staying away from that territory personally. No offense if you go to Liberty or if you want to go. We'll do Texas A&M because I did not do regular Texas. I did regular Texas dirty. And then Arizona versus Akron. Of course it's got to be Arizona. I have a cousin who's an Arizona alum, so I guess a U of A alum. I always pick Arizona, but I think they were done dirty. I can't remember if it was last year or the year before. I don't keep up, but I'm picking Ole Miss. I know somebody at Ole Miss. Okay, for BYU versus VCU, I am going to put an upset there. Again, BYU scares me. Same reason why Liberty scares me. I promise I'm not going to be too biased for these. I like being biased, but yeah, so that is my first upset. Okay, Iowa State versus Lipscomb. I'm doing Iowa State. I feel like you can never go wrong with 3 seeds. Same with Wisconsin. And then I decided to place another upset at Marquette versus New Mexico. I feel like Marquette let me down in a previous year. I don't know why I remember that. I don't have a strong connection with Marquette. I just chose it for whatever reason. And then St. Mary's versus Vanderbilt. St. Mary's. Ooh. As much as Michigan State and Alabama both scare me for similar reasons, Alabama's just very heavy on Greek life, and Greek life personally was never my thing. I have family members who are a part of Greek life, but I feel like their situations aren't as like culty or preppy, but yeah, I hate to stereotype. No offense if you are in Greek life. It's just the vibe that I get. It's just not for me. Yeah, that's my thing with Alabama. And then Michigan State, I don't know. I feel like they have big heads, but that's just me. Yeah, so that completes the South and the East tourneys. Next I'm gonna do the West and the Midwest. I'm obviously gonna go with Florida and Houston on this one. All right, for UConn versus Oklahoma, I feel like the UConn women's team I know is goated. I don't know if they're still goated, but I feel like maybe the men will have a shot in this too. And then I feel like there's got to be at least 1 8 and 9 upset. So for Gonzaga versus Georgia, of course I picked Georgia. I was feeling a little egotistical there. And then I've decided to place a 5 and 12 upset with Memphis and Colorado State. I don't know why. I just went with my gut there. And I feel like I have to pick Clemson. I have family members who went to Clemson. Oh. Okay, this is where I have beef. Okay, so for Maryland versus Grand Canyon, I'm gonna pick Maryland just because they're the higher seed there, but also I have so much beef with GCU, and if you don't want to hear me go on a tangent, I'm gonna have you skip to this next timestamp. Where do I begin? So I am from the Midwest. I'm from northern Indiana, and which I think is, in general, a more conservative area. I think with an exception of like South Bend, which is more of a city. I think there's like multiple churches in my town. A lot of people I went to high school with were Christian. Yeah, so as a result, a lot of these people then chose to go to Christian colleges or Christian private colleges after high school, and a very popular choice for whatever reason is GCU, which obviously is in Arizona, but like I think since that's also Christian, they're like, oh, it's like our Christian universities but in the desert and supposedly a lot nicer and fancier. I don't know, I think it's in a ghetto area of Phoenix, but that's just what I've heard. So as a result of that, there are a lot of people I know or went to high school with who go to GCU. I want to say like there's 6 or 7 people I can name off the top of my head that go there. But also because of I have cousins who live in Arizona who have friends who went or go to GCU. I'm never sure like what the vibe is there, which I think kind of scares me a bit. Like it's any of my business, but like it's just weird to me. What I heard from my cousins is that GCU is very strict on like various things like dress code and like they have curfews, which I feel like is typical for a Christian university, which was a reason why a lot of their friends like either dropped out or transferred or didn't go there in the first place. So I think that's why it's not for me, but also like the people that I know that go there tend to be like partiers. So I'm like, I don't know where you're finding all these parties and stuff. I don't know. Long story short, I just know too many people that go to GCU and I think it's overrated. I've been to Arizona numerous times. My sister goes to college in Arizona. I think they're just better universities. So yeah, Maryland is obviously my pick. And then Purdue, I go to a satellite IU school, so and both my parents went to IU, so like we are not Purdue people for that reason. But also like I know a lot of people who go to Purdue. I think there's a good mix of people that I like and people that I don't like as much. I'm not gonna name any names. I don't want to start any beef. I don't know. I guess my main beef with Purdue, I feel like people at Purdue are more hateful of IU than vice versa, but like they're an Indiana school, so I'll stand by their side with them. But also Purdue disappointed my bracket the last 2 years, so yeah, we're gonna be confident in Purdue and do them this time. Okay, moving on. Like my personal life doesn't matter. Missouri versus Drake. All I can think of is Drake the rapper, so I'm doing Missouri. I'm not a Drake fan. And then Illinois or Texas/Xavier. I feel like there's got to be an upset there, so I chose Texas/Xavier. I picked Xavier for this one because of the mascot, but I think either Texas or Xavier would have a shot, I feel like. Again, I don't keep up with basketball. I'm just kind of basing it off of my previous memory of previous brackets. Texas. Why are there so many Texas schools? I'll have a little bit of faith in Texas schools for now. All right. And I feel like I've put enough upsets for this round, so we are gonna do Kansas, UCLA, St. John's, and Tennessee. And that concludes the round of 64. Okay, so for the round of 32, I decided to place 3 upsets for that one. I think the rest of the games are going to be pretty straightforward. So Auburn and Duke, both number 1s. And then I feel like there will be an upset with Michigan versus Texas A&M, so Michigan will probably win that one. And then I'm rooting for Arizona. I'm hopeful for them this time. And then I don't know if this is gonna hurt my bracket too much, but I have Ole Miss and Iowa State against each other, which are 6 and 3, and I don't know, I feel like it's a little risky to have a 3 seed lose at this point, but I don't know, I feel like there would be a scandal, so like I put Ole Miss there, but we'll do Wisconsin, and then Michigan State, unfortunately, and Alabama, unfortunately. We'll do Florida. I also have beef with the Florida Gators, but that is an entirely different story, and you guys don't care about my personal life. And then, sorry Georgia, but Houston's gonna beat your butts. And then we'll do Maryland, and then I feel like I have to trust Purdue in this one. because I didn't last time and that screwed up my bracket. Okay, and then I feel like my last upset, very similar to Ole Miss and Iowa. I think it was an I-State. Yeah, Iowa. I feel like Missouri's gonna beat Texas Tech. I don't know. And then Kentucky is gonna win that one. And then we'll do St. John's and Tennessee. All right, and that'll be it for my 32. And then I want to do one more upset, but I can't decide whether to put it in the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8. So we are going to flip a coin. Hold on. I have not flipped a coin this time yet, so all right. I have a dime. Heads will be Sweet 16 and tails will be Elite 8. I am terrible at flipping coins, but whoa, hold on. Where'd it go? It's on heads. It landed next to my Eras Tour book, but it's heads, so we're gonna put an upset in the Sweet 16. Alright, that was fun. Okay, so I feel like Auburn and Duke are gonna be my best bets, for this. Michigan State, and then to blow off some steam, I put the upset with Wisconsin versus Alabama. I don't know, I just want Alabama to go. So yeah, that's my upset there. And then I guess the rest will be straightforward. We'll put Florida and Houston through. And then we will do St. John's and Tennessee. I feel like this is going to be basic, but I think I took too many risks in previous years. But okay, alright, we're in the Elite 8 now. I've got all 4 1 seeds, 3 2 seeds, and 1 3 seed. I feel like I maybe should put another upset in there too. Probably won't be the 3 seed. I am going to... So for my final 4, I have decided that I am going to put Auburn, Duke, Florida, and then I feel like the upset will occur in the Houston versus Tennessee, so Tennessee will be in there too. I feel like the top left corner of the bracket, their team has the highest chance of winning, so I'm gonna have Auburn beat Florida, and then we'll just do Duke winning the other one. So, all right, Auburn versus Duke. Now, I'm not gonna bother putting in my score, but actually, I want to look at their mascots. What can I envision winning? Do I envision the Auburn Tigers winning or the Duke Blue Devils? With Blue Devils, all I can think of is DCI, if you know, you know. In this case, I feel like the Blue Devils will have this in the bag. Yeah, this is my final bracket. I have not entered any bracket competitions so far, but if I do, this will probably be what I submit. But yeah, I mainly wanted to do this for a video because I thought this would be a fun video idea. Yeah, I'm sorry if I offended anyone that goes to any of these schools or plays sports or are sports fans. This was all meant to be fun. This is not my area of expertise, but yeah, and I thought it was fun that I threw in all of the funny methods, like the flipping the coin, the picking the mascots, but yeah, and singling out the schools / people I've beef with. Yeah, I hope you had fun. This was not meant to be taken seriously, and I will see you in the next video.